Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a Shop My Stash, and I really wanted to focus on makeup that I know I've been neglecting. So things that I kind of mentioned in my declutter series I did a few weeks ago that I need to pull out and use more. I kind of focused on that as I was picking out the products in the Shop My Stash. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to take you with me to pick out the products, and then we're going to use them and do our makeup together. If you're new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty and makeup content here on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I hope you'll subscribe, and let's just get started. We'll start with picking out the makeup, and then we'll use the products and do our makeup together. All right, let's pick out some makeup. I kind of want to focus on makeup that I mentioned throughout my declutter series that I either haven't used lately or things that I have used, but I still don't really know how I feel about them. I just feel like during the declutters, I said a lot. I need to get this out and use it more. So I want to kind of focus in on those things in this video or this Shop My Stash. So let's get started. I'm going to pick a foundation first. Although I will say, I feel like for the most part, I use my foundations and my skin tints that I have. But there's definitely a few that I don't use too much. Like this, for example, the Neutrogena Healthy Skin Liquid Makeup. This has been around forever. I don't reach for this often. I use the other Neutrogena a little bit more, this serum foundation. So I might go with this, but let's see what else is in. Like, I never use this Dior Forever Skin Glow. Typically, if I use my Dior, I use the Backstage. Maybe we should do that. I also have this, which I feel like I kind of need to test again, the Bosma Stick Foundation. Got this in PR a long time ago. I think I've only used it once. I wasn't like super crazy about it. You know what? I think I'm going to do this one, the Dior Forever Skin Glow. Let's use this. I don't pull that out hardly ever. For a primer, we'll just use this one since it's pretty new, the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer. I'm going to use that probably just kind of sparingly. I feel like I don't really need a super glowy primer since that foundation's really glowy. So I think we'll go with that. All right, for a corrector, I'm really unsure about this one because for the most part, I use my correctors, all of them really. I guess we'll go with this, the LA Girl Pro Conceal in Peach. So I get asked about this one all the time, if I've tried it, what I think of it. I think just because I don't talk about this one, I've used this a few times. It's fine. I don't know. It's definitely not a favorite for me. I don't love this tone of peach. I know I've seen a few comments that said there's another shade called Ivory, maybe, that's not quite as dark as this one. I've looked for that one a few times in the store when I'm there, but I haven't seen it. So anyway, this is the one that I have. So I guess we'll go with that because I get asked about that one quite a bit. And I don't use it much. And then let's do, for a concealer, we could do the Kulfi concealer. I don't use that one a ton. Or this is another one, the Pure Push Up 4-in-1 Sculpting Concealer. Or we could go with this one. I haven't used this in a really long time, the Dior Backstage. No, let's do Kulfi. I feel like this is definitely one I don't use very much at all. And I think that should be good for everything in here. Moving on to powders, highlights, and face palettes. We'll start with powder. Maybe I should just do Laura Mercier Translucent. I feel like most of my powders I do use quite a bit. Yeah, let's do Laura Mercier, just the translucent version. For highlighter, really I could choose a lot of these because a lot of my highlights do not get a ton of use. Maybe I'll pull this out, the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Beauty Light Wand. Have not used, I don't remember the last time I used this. Yeah, let's do that. So we will go with that. And then I'm trying to decide if I want to do a face palette. Part of me kind of wants to do this one because I know I talked about this in my declutter series. This Natasha Denona Glam face palette, although that has a highlight in it, I guess. I'm gonna pull it out. We may end up using this because that is such a stunning palette and it does not get the use that it deserves. So I think we'll pull it out and just decide later. That should be it for this drawer. All right, for a blush, I may end up using the blush in that Natasha Denona palette, so I may not end up really needing one, but in case I do, I'm gonna pull a few of them out. Okay, we're not gonna go for things that I use a lot. I kind of want to use this Tower 28 in Magic Hour. I know this was one that I kind of talked about in my declutter video, how I haven't used it lately, but these are really nice. Okay, let's pull that out. I might not end up using it, but we'll see. Maybe I should do this one. This is Teddy by Persona. It's kind of more of a nude, like a warmer nude blush. It's pretty though. This one is also pretty, Sunkissed from Nude Sticks. That's a really pretty color too. I'm being extremely indecisive. Ooh, I'm gonna bring this out also. I might not use this, but the Almay Healthy Hue blush. Beautiful, bronzy, neutral kind of blush, but I don't use it often. I'm gonna pull that out, and I think that's all I'm gonna pull for blushes, because again, I'll just sit here and pull everything out if I allow myself to. All right, for bronzer, I feel like there's a lot that I could pull out for this. Maybe this L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear. This is a really pretty bronzer, but I do not use this one that much, or I haven't used it lately. I was using it quite a bit closer to the time when it came out, but I just haven't used it lately. I'll pull that out, and then I'm gonna pull a cream bronzer also, even though I don't know if I'm gonna use both, but let's do Persona bronzer in the shade Dune. Love this one. It's super warm, so I really only like it for spring and summer, but I haven't used this lately, but I do really like this formula. So I'll pull that out too, and that should be it for this drawer. For brows, there's not a whole lot here that I would say that I don't use. Let's pull this out and use the Milani brow wax. This is okay. It's not my favorite. It's actually almost empty. So I will pull that out and go ahead and use that. But yeah, I feel like I don't have a ton of brow stuff that I don't pull out and use. Maybe this. I don't use this often, the Glossier Brow Flick. I find this a little bit difficult to use, if I'm honest. The few times I have used it, I haven't loved it. But I don't know. Maybe we'll give that another try. So we'll pull that out. And then I know I want to pull out an eyeliner. Maybe we'll do this one. This is Nars eyeliner in Mambo. It's a brown, but it's kind of a reddish brown, kind of similar to Teddy by MAC. And okay, all my mascaras for the most part I just kind of rotate them in and out. We'll go with this one today. Haven't used this one super recently, the Surratt mascara. And then I guess I'll pull out a few of these single shadows. I don't really know if I'm going to use them. I'm going to use this Nars shadow primer. This is a newer one. It's in shade medium. I try not to use that one a ton just because you can't buy it anymore most places for some reason. But we'll go ahead and pull that out. For lips, I'll probably pull out a few things since I don't really know what I'm doing with the makeup yet. So I'll just pull out a few things I know I have not used lately. Maybe this Persona lip liner in Rosewood. It's kind of a darker nude, I think. I definitely have not used that. very recently. Also have not used this, the Dibs lip definer, so you get more of a contour and then like a traditional lip liner on the other end. We'll pull that out too, because I definitely have not used either of those things recently. Or I could use a Dior lip maximizer, because I have not used these lately either. This one is, I think it's called Shimmering Nude, I want to say, even though they've actually repackaged and reformulated this now, so I don't even know if you can make, or if you can get that one anymore, but I'm going to pull it out anyway. I could pick a Charlotte Tilbury lipstick also, just because I feel like I've also kind of been neglecting those. Like this one, this is the shade Supermodel. Really pretty. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this out too, just in case I decide I want to do that. So that is it for here. All right, and then my palettes are down here. I may not end up using a palette because I might use that Natasha Denona face palette, but I'm gonna pull out at least one palette just in case I don't end up using that. Let's do this, the side by side from Nabla. I remember using this in a live a few months ago, I want to say, but I don't know that this has ever been used in an actual YouTube video, and this is a really beautiful eyeshadow palette, so I think we'll do that. And that should be everything. All right, I've already done my skincare, my SPF. It's had about, I don't know, 15-20 minutes to set down. So let's just get started with the makeup. The first thing we're going to use is this Tarte primer. So this is the Timeless Smoothing Primer. I mainly picked this just because this is super new to me, that I haven't really neglected this. It's so new, it hasn't been used a ton, and I want to test it out a bit more. So I'm not going to apply this all over. I'm mainly going to focus this on my T-zone. So I just have a little bit on my finger, and I'm just going to kind of smooth it or spread it where I notice my pores the most, which is like right here. I feel like I can see a difference in that primer just looking at it there without even putting anything over it. This is just a little mini size too, so really want to try this out a little bit more and see what I think. Yeah, I feel like I can almost see this primer working as I'm smoothing it across my skin. All right, while I'm waiting for that to set, I'm gonna go into the Milani Stay Put Brow Wax, and I'm gonna apply this before we do anything on my face. I haven't been doing this recently. I've just kind of been using it like a regular brow gel, but I'm gonna start using it like this again. I think these wax kind of products really work the best if you apply them this way before you do anything else, so they can really adhere to your skin. Wow, I just looked at my skin in this little handheld mirror, and I don't know that I've ever seen this area this mattified and smooth looking before. If you have super oily skin, and I know this has been around forever, but you have a lot of texture and very oily skin, you might want to look into this, because I don't even have oily skin or a lot of texture or really a huge issue with pores, but I notice a huge difference right here just looking at my skin up close. FYI. Okay, let's move on to Corrector. We're going to use this one. I never use it, the LA Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Peach. Like I said in the earlier clip, I get asked about this one all the time. So I'm sure you've seen this, but it has a little brush tip applicator that I don't really like. It gets really, really messy. Just gonna use a little bit. All right, then I'm just gonna blend that in with this little Smashbox brush. This is a blurring concealer brush. It's really good for concealer, but also for corrector under your eyes. It's like the perfect size. It's a very underrated brush. I feel like I don't hear anyone ever talk about this, but it's a good one. All right, for foundation, we're gonna use the Dior Forever Skin Glow in the shade 1.5 Neutral. This is a foundation, I really have no clue why I don't use this one super often, because I love Dior for the most part in terms of their products. But I don't know, I just never, this is not one that I reach for. I always go for like my Nars Light Reflecting Foundation. I feel like that's kind of a similar foundation to this. I'm gonna blend that in with my Smashbox blurring foundation brush. So basically that little concealer brush I was using a minute ago under my eyes, it's literally this same brush, just a much smaller version of it. They're really nice. I know they just reformulated everything from Dior. Does anyone know, did they remove the fragrance from these foundations when they reformulated or not? I was just in a Sephora a few days ago, but I didn't go over to these and test it out to see if the fragrance was still there. But I'm curious. If you know, let me know in the comments, because I will say the fragrance on these Dior foundations is pretty intense. This foundation actually looks really good today, better than I remember in the past. I don't know if it's with that primer underneath, but it looks really pretty. It doesn't even look overly glowy like I feel like I thought it did in the past when I've used it, but anyway, looks really pretty today. For concealer, I'm going to use the Kulfi concealer in the shade Ice Ice Berry. If you remember, I don't know if it was like a year ago or so, this brand was released at Sephora, and this, I want to say this was their first product that they released with, and it kind of went viral for a little while, and you couldn't get it. I didn't end up getting it until much later, but I've used it a few times. I mean, it's a good concealer. I don't know that I see where all the hype is coming from with it. I know I've heard a lot of people with more mature skin really like this. But I mean, I think it's a good concealer, don't get me wrong. I don't know that I've seen anything like totally out of the ordinary with it, but we're gonna use it. And I'm just gonna blend that in with my Smashbox brush first, and then I'll switch to something smaller for under my eyes. I've really been liking putting my concealer here, like right under where I would do blush and bronzer lately. I don't know, I feel like it's almost like reverse bronzing and blushing. I don't know, I've really been liking how it looks. I feel like it makes a difference. And I'm switching to the FO3 from Sigma for under my eyes. Kind of been back on this brush again for my concealer. This was like my ride or die concealer brush for a while. And then I started using a few other brushes like the 110 from BK Beauty, which I also still really like. But I've been using this the past few times I've done my makeup, and I don't know. There's just something about using this brush under your eyes. I don't know what it is, but I swear it's just perfect for that. All right, moving on to bronzer. I pulled out this one from Persona and the powder bronzer from L'Oreal. I'm thinking I'm gonna do a little bit of both, but we'll start with the cream from Persona. So this is the shade Dune. So it looks like that. It's very warm. Kind of reminds me of Happy Soul from Rare Beauty. All right, I'm gonna use a 106 from BK Beauty. And just start tapping this on. I'm gonna try to apply this kind of sparingly just because I kind of want to use a little bit of that powder bronzer, and this is, like I said, a really warm color, so I don't want to use too much. Okay, for blush, I'm gonna start with a little bit of this Tower 28. I know I pulled out this Natasha palette, the Glam Face palette, so I was thinking about using the blush in here. I just can't decide. No, we're gonna go with this. So this is the shade Magic Hour, and I'm actually gonna use that same brush, the 106 from BK Beauty, and I barely dipped into this, like barely, because these from Tower 28, I kind of forgot, but they're super pigmented. So you need very little. It's kind of rosy, but not like too pink. It has like a little bit of like a sun-kissed look to it, which is really pretty, especially this time of year. All right, before we set with some powders, I'm going to use this highlight from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Pillow Talk Beauty Light Wand. It's really pretty. I do not use it ever, but it's a beautiful shade. So I can show you, it's just like a very light, kind of icy pink, but it's really pretty. I'm not even really sure how I want to apply this, honestly. I'm just gonna do my finger. Okay, so very pretty highlight. I know you're supposed to like dot these on, but every time I do that, it does not work out well for me. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just kind of working it on the back of my hand, and then I'm just gonna use my finger, my ring finger, and just kind of tap it on. All right, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of powder blush. So I'm gonna use this one from Almay, the Healthy Hue blush in Nearly Nude. I was gonna do bronzer also, but I feel like I just kind of want to use this as a blush and a bronzer because it is more of like a bronzy color. So I think I'm just gonna stick with this, and I'm using this brush that I also recently rediscovered, which is the Flower Beauty blush brush. Such a good brush, so nice and fluffy. Highly recommend this one. I'm just kind of taking just a little bit on my forehead too, a little bit on the bridge of my nose. I need to pull this out and use it more. I'm glad I'm using it in this video. For brows, I pulled out this. I just don't know if I want to use this, to be honest. The Glossier Brow Flick. I know I have tried to use this before and did not have a great experience, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try just a little bit of it and just hope for the best. I don't know. If I feel like it's going bad, I'll stop. But this is the shade Brown. All right, moving on to the eyes. I'm gonna start with the Nars eye primer in the shade Medium, but it's just super hard to find right now. I don't know. I hope so much that maybe they're just like repackaging this or something, but it's kind of hard to get your hands on now. We're gonna go into the eyes now. We're gonna use the Nabla palette. I know I pulled out the Natasha, but since we didn't end up using the blush and the highlight in there, I'm just gonna go with this. So I'm first gonna go into, I think, this top shade called Bonjour. I'm just gonna take a BK Beauty, what is this, A503, and start applying this in the crease. I haven't used this palette a ton, so I'm not super familiar with the Nabla eyeshadow formula, but like this shade right off the bat is blending and applying beautifully, and I didn't even set down that primer underneath, so off to a good start. All right, switching to a smaller brush, I'm gonna mix this shade and this shade, so Halftime and Beauty Mark. They're both on the cooler side. One's just lighter than the other. But I'm gonna take that on an A502, which is just a smaller little blending brush from BK Beauty. And I'm just gonna lightly kind of apply this in this outer corner. It's so weird. I haven't been really doing eyeshadow very much lately at all, so it feels kind of weird to be doing it, but I do love to use a good eyeshadow palette. Okay, yeah, so these shades are also applying really beautifully. Very, very easy. And then I'm just gonna go back into that first brush that we used and just kind of diffuse everything out just a little. I'm gonna use this shade called Ray of Light. It's a really light kind of yellow, or not yellow gold, it's more of like a champagne gold. And I'm gonna use my finger with this. I don't think I've ever used this shade before. Ooh, it's pretty though. It's that really beautiful wet look that I love, especially as a lid shade. Oh yeah, that's really pretty. I'm gonna go into this brown down here called Tempera, like a warmer, almost like a reddish brown. And I'm gonna apply this on the lash, or the outer lash line, like right here, really, really lightly, and almost kind of like flick it out a little bit, like a really soft liner. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of this white down here. It's like a soft white. It's called Rarity. And I'm gonna just apply a little bit of this right under my brow right here. Not very much, just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of Nars eye pencil in that Mambo shade, kind of similar to that brown shadow we applied in the outer corner. And I'm gonna apply just a little bit of this, kind of like right over where we put that. And then take my 208 brush from BK Beauty and just kind of use the tip of it to bring it out just a little bit, getting a little bit more of it on the actual brush. And just kind of lightly pulling it out, not a lot, just a little. For the lower lash line, I'm gonna take all three of those matte shades we used. So this one, and this one. And I'm just gonna kind of take like a few taps of each one and apply this on the bottom lash line. I'm gonna apply a little bit of this Nars liner also to my waterline, but mainly just out in the outer corner. All right, now I'm gonna curl up my lashes before we go in with mascara. So I'm using my Serie lash curler. For mascara, I'm gonna use the Serie Releve mascara. I actually do like this mascara. It has like little fibers in it, so it really does make your lashes look longer and fuller. Last, for the lips, let's see. So I pulled out this from Persona and the Dibs. I think I'll go with Persona in Rosewood. For lips, I really don't know what I want to do. Maybe a little bit of this Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Supermodel. Oh yeah, I actually love that with that more brown lip liner. And then we'll just do a little bit of this gloss on top. This is the Dior Maximizer. All right, you guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this Shop My Stash. I have to say, I really love how this base makeup turned out, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it all went together really, really well. All of the products are just laying extremely well on my skin. So I don't know if it's that Tarte primer paired with this, but I really like it. I really like how this makeup turned out. So I hope this really inspires you to go through your makeup collection and shop your own stash. Use some things that are collecting dust that you haven't used in a while. You might surprise yourself, you might rediscover something and figure out you really like it, which I feel like I kind of did in this video, and I feel like I used most of the things that I pulled out to use. Really happy with this look overall. This palette from Nabla, obviously I did a very Blair-esque eye look, but you could do a lot with this palette. I feel like you get a really nice array of shades in here, so you can keep it really light and ethereal, but then also you have some darker, smokier shades in here. So this is a nice palette. I had no issues with the application of the shadows at all. So this, highly, highly recommend. I will have everything listed below in the description box that I'm wearing. And I will also have my merch linked. I have to kind of plug my merch now because I'm really proud of it. You should see it in the description box as well as up underneath my videos now. So make sure to go down there and check out all the links. They are affiliate links, so I do make a commission if you shop through them. So thank you so much for doing that. Make sure to subscribe and follow me on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1, and I will see you next time. Remember, simply be you. Bye.